Are there any plans to release Mr. Sister soundtrack?
Well, no, the closest is those 2 songs that are available on stuff. I always have a hard time, like with Scumbag, we had 40 artists and like a lot of really famous artists with songs, and everybody was willing to like try to do this idea of a soundtrack, but nobody wanted to make the contract, and nobody trusted any kind of contracts. Musicians are more paranoid than film people with this stuff. And it's like, well, you tell me, because I would put this out if you're cool with it, you know, but like nobody really wanted to do it so much. Like they wanted to, but they didn't want to commit. So, you know, there's not, the closest to that is, I don't know. I plan to be putting out a bunch of singles that were used. Truth is, like in the 10 years I was doing in music in New York, and the 5 years or the 10 years in Toronto, I have all this music that's never been released, but I've almost used all the songs in all my movies once now. So I'm going to hopefully slowly start releasing more stuff. And on every album it will say, hey, this song was on this movie, or this song was on that movie. So that's one way around it. But like, it's hard for me to deal with other artists that in their bands and stuff to say, let me put out your music. I think the best I've done is I did one of those Pandora playlists or some Spotify playlists, you know, for the films of stuff that's out there. But,
yeah, because another song that stood out for me was also the one at the end, the one that your star, his name escapes me now.
Yeah, so that's
James.
Yeah, so Jack James Bussa.
Jack James Bussa, that's the name.
Jack
yep.
Bussa. He's a singer in a bunch of bands in New York, or he has one band in New York, and you know, I found him. You know, I get musicians, and that song was by Brett Smiley, who was produced by Alan Oldham, who managed the Rolling Stones back in the day, and he was going to make, the goal was to make Brett Smiley as big as Bowie. He was a younger Bowie at the time, at the height of the glam rock scene, and he was on this Russell Hartley's talk show talking about all the stuff he was going to do. And I guess, you know, he fell into drugs, and the band, that all the stuff broke up, but they really thought he was going to be big. And I met him, like, I don't know, when he was a lot older in New York. And I loved that song so much. I said, look, can I put this song in a movie? And he's like, yeah, you can, you know, but I don't really own the music. I don't know who does anymore, and blah, blah, blah. And then my friend died. So right when he died, I was making this movie, and I'm like, I gotta do a tribute to you. Let's do this song, you know, let's do this song. And then what ended up happening is the singer, the main actor, went into the studio with some other friends of mine, Kenyon Phillips, who's he plays in popular groups in New York, and they banged it out in like one take, you know, like they redid the version, and I thought it was great, but you know, nobody's getting their shit together to put it out. Like, they're very slow about that. It's the musicians thing where it's like, we got to do it when it's perfect, when the time's right. I'm like, well, we released the movie, man. I don't know what to tell you, you know? But from my end, what I learned, which was, I learned this the hard way, is every time I've done films, I have friends give me music from that they've wrote, that they own, and I put it in this movie. At this particular movie, I hired a music supervisor to look into something else for me. And that what happened was, they came back and they said, you know, the people that own Black Sabbath's music came back and they said that they own that song that you have at the end of your movie. I was like, what? What are you talking about? You know, it's already in the movie. I can't cut the movie, you know? So I went to this publishing company in New York on my hands and knees, go, what can I do to make this right? I'm a small person. I'm trying to put this out myself, everything. So we cut a deal where this music publishing company is getting more than any of my investors in any previous films for the rest of their life on this film, because I didn't clear that ahead of time. Wow. And it's at least they're being a little nice about it. So I've heard stories where people will be like, no, we didn't want it in there. End your film. No, you're not allowed to release your film, even though it's out, you know, kind of thing. Yep. So it's I'm never going to do that again. And I thought you were immune when you did covers, but apparently you're not. You know, it's like you just as. So
But
I'm glad it
when you
wasn't
do
a Rolling
covers,
Stone song or something.
when you do covers, if I'm not mistaken, you have to pay royalties,
Yeah.
but you
Well,
don't have to have them sign over the rights or something.
You have to pay royalties with for the bands. The bands can go out and put this out, but when you put it in a movie, it's the same as putting in the original band in the movie. I didn't know that till this music supervisor pointed it out to me. So you could have had the Rolling Stones in the movie doing it. It's not going to make much of a difference. You got to pay for this particular right to have that song live in your movie and stuff in the full length of it and all. So it's it was like a learning lesson. You know, I'm usually pretty good about that stuff, but it was a tribute to my friend, you know. So it's
and that song that I was talking about at the end, I remember when I watched the film the first time and he started singing, I was like, is that him singing? I was like, is this
singing.
Bowie? I was like, is this Bowie? I was actually thinking this might be a Bowie song. And then I was like, no, I don't
same
know.
era, same time, and you know, the music producer was a big deal.
It's,
you know,
it's an awesome track.
Yeah. Music in that thing was pretty amazing. So,
but
that movie, I really like. When my friend died, I that inspired the movie. I said, I want this song in a movie, and I'm going to work backwards from that song. And I wrote this script backwards to see how could a guy end up singing this song in the movie. So that's how important that song was to me to keep in the film. I'm like, the movie started on that song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. The inspiration.
Yeah. And usually songs are what inspire me to make movies. Like I see scenes from songs. And then when I go to make the movie, a lot of times it'd be like in Scumbag, there's a scene where there's a girl, the main actress and main actor, Princess Frank and Deborah Hayden, are dancing on a car singing. And that was inspired from me like daydreaming in a traffic jam while listening to Billy Joel song. And I thought, I need this Billy Joel song. These people are going to dance on the car. And blah. And then when I was getting ready to make the movie, I'm like, wait, I can't afford to put a Billy Joel song in the movie. So I called the actor who was a musician. I'm like, can you make a song kind of in this vein? And that's how that came about. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember we reviewed Scumbag on MyIndie review vlog. So Asaf was doing the review for that. And I remember we were discussing the film sort of before the review, and he said, I was watching the movie, and it's like this is interesting, this is that, and all of a sudden it became La La Land. He goes,
well, we were before La La Land, though. We came out before La La Land and everything. We were like
that musical number.
We were like more like East La La Land, East LA La Land, because we shot that in East Los Angeles.
But the thing that we found impressive, like very impressive about that film is you have a ton of locations and a ton of participants. Some are extras and some actually have, some kind of a let's say slightly bigger role, and some of course a lot bigger. But there's a ton of people on that project.
Well, it was a small cast. We only had 240 roles, 240 line speaking parts, but
only.
Yeah.
Is that all?
And nice to hear that you cut it down a bit.
Making that up. That was true. Yeah.
And it's
right now,
watching it, you notice it.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see this one yet, but I'm looking at the poster and it's like, holy shit.
It's a great film.
The thing with me with films, I have so many friends that have made their livings being extras that I'm kind of I don't believe in extras. Everybody gets a speaking line and a part in my films, like nobody gets cut out on a world domination. If you're going to come out and be part of this, like you're going to be in it. You're not going to get cut out. So.
Right. No.
Nice.
That's a good practice to have. So
yeah, when you went to Tubi recently, some people asked me.
I was on Tubi for a while with Scumbag. I have not been on with the other films yet, but
I'm talking about Scumbag, and people asked me about what films would I recommend that are on Scumbag, and I gave them a bit of a list, and Scumbag was in there, and they asked me, how would you describe this movie? Like what is it similar to other subgenres or something? And I said, well, the best way I can put it, and it's not really like those films, but think The Wolf of Wall Street meets La La Land.
Yeah,
That's what I
would
came
say
up
that.
with.
I would say that, you know, and I like The Wolf of Wall Street. I would definitely, I think that's a good comparison. At the time when we made it, both films weren't out yet, so they, you know, it's a true story, except the dancing on the car part. But yeah, I don't know.
The funny thing is, I'm not a big fan of either Wolf of Wall Street or La La Land, and I highly recommended Scumbag.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I will tell you, like when I butted heads with some producers on that film because they kept saying, "What's going on?" Like they start singing, and it's not a musical, so you can't do that. You should cut that stuff out, or you should be a musical. No. What are you? You got to be this, or you got to be that. You got to be. And I got tired of it. So then I did an interview with this woman on this horror zine called Body Count Rising, and I said, I invented a new genre. It's called Rocktopia, where the protagonist, the only form of escape is to rock out. It's my new genre. And they quoted me, and I made all these points of 20 things you have to do to make a Rocktopia film. Like you have to have a cast over 200 people, and you got to shoot handheld, and you have to have musicians that play opposite parts of who they are in real life. I made this whole thing, and then it started getting published everywhere about this whole Rocktopia thing. So I just basically, they want to be categorized. So I'm like, well, this is Rocktopia film.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for telling me that story, because I had read your bio on MyIndie the other day, and I was looking, I'm going, Rocktopia, what is this? Oh, I'm gonna have to ask them about that. Well, there you go. So thanks for
so that's what that is.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's funny, but around the outside of your producers.
But people do like you know, seeing something that is more familiar to them. If you mix genres and subgenres in a different way than they used to, they usually like don't know how to handle it. For me, with Scumbag, that's what I liked about it. It was such a beautiful mess, you know, with all of that, because that was the you know, the feel of the movie, the pace of the movie was, you know, fast paced. Everything was going on, which is really what was going on in the main character's life, you know. So that helps the audience, in my opinion, feel what the character is feeling. When all of a sudden they break into song and dance, and then it goes back into normal, you know, sort of life.
I think it helps to have ADD too, you know, like I get bored fast. So I'm like, hey, I like music videos, I like experimental films, and I like films. Let's do experimental film now. Let's do, like, it's what's coming to me as I go. And I'm like, well, I'm the director, funder, and editor. Why do I have to follow any rule? You know, it's like, maybe if somebody gave me money to make their film, I'd have to follow their rule, which is another thing too. I've been in lots of talks with a person at the Nash Correctional Facility in North Carolina who reached out to me, a prisoner that's in for life, that wants me to maybe direct their boxing film. And he's one of the most famous prison novelists. He goes by the name Dutch, and he has a film in post-production right now starring Louis Gossett Jr. called Sin. And this was a random call that Rick Ross hooked up, where I'm getting calls from lifers who are getting on the phone with their agents and conference calling me because they got the funds while they're in prison to go and make some movies. And I might be making this movie in Newark, New Jersey. We'll see. But I'm like, I believe in these kind of weird things like this, rather than sitting and meeting at an executive at a film festival telling me how they're going to help me. I kind of believe the prisoner probably has the hookups for the funding and stuff to go and make a movie, you know, like to have all these IMDb credits and ask me questions like, can I see your reel, and where would I see your reel? And like, this is like the questions from prisoners, like lifers asking me, you know, like, okay, we need, and you do comedies, how many dolly shots you use in that film? What kind of camera? And it's like, wow, they know what they're talking about, you know. It's pretty cool.
Well, I mean,
so you're going to be making a prison boxing musical? No,
I don't.
That's
know.
That's what I want to see.
It's already written and the funding's already there, so I'm being tried out right now to see if I get it. You know, but it's just it's interesting to take. Like, yeah, I would do it for sure. You know, because you got to be very serious. You're calling me from prison with your one phone call to do this movie, and it's be kind of cool. I was joking, like one of the Crips asked, "How come you're doing all this?" And I jokingly said, because I want to be the Eminem of black filmmakers. I don't know. I don't have other goals. I don't know what else.
I see that. I see that quote coming up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's awesome. Right.
I can be
There's
as
something
anti-PC as I want, and it won't matter.
There's something that you touched on. I've got a bit of a plane coming overhead. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
No.
Something that you touched on before, but it's basically about your wife, Deborah. She's so far in almost all of your films, I would say, from Scumbag on.
Yeah, she's been in all my films. She helps me on all of them, on all the levels of the production. She doesn't get all the credit she deserves. She's starting to. She's a co-producer on Stars. But yeah, she does her outfit. She acts. She dances. She sings, and it's always her own thing. She's also a ventriloquist that does a show on Bigo, which is an app out of where is it, Singapore or something like that. But yeah, she's been in all my films. She wasn't around when I made The Little House That Could, because that was shot in New York. My ex-wife's in that movie. But Deborah was there for me. We were at the world premiere of The Little House That Could at Frameline in June of 2013. I just realized I've been on a constant film tour where I played a film festival every year for something since 2013. And so she was there from that. And I remember saying, all right, we're going to do another film and you're going to be in it. I don't think she took me serious. We weren't married at the time and stuff. But and everybody I talked to, like I was in, I won't say who, but I was in recovery walking down aisle 3 saying, all right, you're in my film, you're in my film, you're in my film, you're in my film. And they'd be like, what, you want me to be in a movie? What do you want me to be? I'm looking at them going, how about be a cholo like yourself? Oh, I'd love to do that. What's up, homie? So it's like, so then I got like, I just like, that's how I got 240 people in a movie, like that was part of it. But, so
you and Deborah got married after Scumbag, right?
Yeah, like we got married. We got married after Scumbag. We were engaged for a long time, and then we got married. And I think our first wedding anniversary was during the shoot of Mr. Sister, where we actually forgot it was our anniversary. Somebody told us as we were like shooting. But yeah, I think we've been together for about 8 years at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, no, it just seems like such a great collaboration. I mean, she's usually got like the female lead or at least a fairly big role in all of them. And she has this sort of great presence and she does a lot of the music. And it's just really cool.
And we met actually. We met because I did a lot of music and I had a funny kind of sex music project like Rick James called Kondo. My name was Kenny Kondo and I dressed like an Egyptian.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I think I have one of those videos on
when you're
MyIndie.
going through divorce and you're not getting laid for years and your marriage sucks, you start writing lots of songs about sex like Pray to the Temple of Cock and
Nice.
Going undercover and stuff like that. So my friend and me, Lightfinger, would write these songs. I had all these songs, and an old friend of mine from New York who was living in LA, Heidi Blue Girl, or Heidi Kelver, who's a photographer, was taking a class at a university in Los Angeles. And she's like, I need to do a music video. Do you have any music? And I'm like, well, I have this song I've never done anything with, I've never even performed. And she liked it. And then we did this music video and she cast Deborah in the music video. And Deborah and me never met on set, but we met later on at like a Thanksgiving dinner. That's, so we were in movies together before we actually met, so that was how it works. And she's not one of these people that's like, oh, you got to put me and make me the lead. Actually, when I'm writing a movie, usually my films are a certain way. It might be pretty crazy. And then her background is she likes Audrey Hepburn and that kind of classical Hollywood. And I know like who she is and what as a person. So I usually try to cast a character that's pretty like I write a character that's pretty close to her, and then it makes the film a little more neutral as opposed to just tip one way, you know?
Right.
And that's how it's worked out. But with Stars, because it was written by somebody else, she played a role that was very different from herself, that kind of had to really push her in a different way. She plays an undercover cop, you know, that's living in a homeless shelter, you know, trying in a tough world. So it's opposite of the kind of happy girl that you see in the other films, you know. So
yeah, and just give her a bit of a plug here. Again, Skunk in the Roses is the name she goes by. Yeah, and her album, it's very quirky style. I really like it. It's like it's bringing back some sort of old styles mixed with the new. I really like the style of it. What's the remind me the name of the album again?
Rabid Perfume.
That's it.
And,
I love that.
And she's been working on some other stuff as well. There's actually the song that was in Scumbag, Sad Sad Vampire. There's a single that's remixed by a dub group out of England called Mantra Move that I don't fully know, but I feel like they have ties in the Hare Krishna world. You know, I it's not my thing. I don't judge people's religions, you know, but they're like a dub group that has a member from this Canadian band called Ragged Death. It has Youth from Killing Joke, who also works with Paul McCartney. It has Nick Turner, who was the saxophone player in Hawkwind, you know, and these people remixed her in a dub way, and it sounds like a reggae version of Skunk and the Roses. Like, they did an amazing job. And also this artist from Toronto called Din, who used to be the keyboardist from Digital Poodle. He does like glitter space disco music, and he's did a couple remixes. One even has samples from Dragula, I believe. What was that? There's not RuPaul's Drag Race, but the evil version of that with the Boulay brothers. I think it's Dragula maybe, or something like that. It has samples from that, and this is only available as an MP3 online. So all that you can find out. She has a Instagram, Skunk in the Roses. I used to say and the Roses, but it's in the Roses.
In the Roses, yeah.
I'm looking it up and adding it.
It's very cool. It's very, very different and very cool. Very, very high energy, which I like.
Yeah, the single actually has her singing a French version of Sad Sad Vampire. She sings it all in French. So,
cool.
And it's doing really well in Korea right now. Like, the Korea pop world likes her, you know. So
K-pop,
in an ideal world, it would be great if Stars has her world premiere at Busan, because she has a lot of fans in Korea right now. So we'll
be careful. Watch out for the zombies if it's Busan.
Oh yeah. What's the deal with that?
The movie Train to Busan. It's a zombie film. Both Todd and I love that film. We actually did a show on that.
Cool.
Yeah. It's probably one of the best. I would say one of the best zombie movies.
Zombie film
ever made.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So,
following on from that Scumbag discussion, you know, about the scope, you know, of the film with locations and participants, moving into Mr. Sister. In Mr. Sister, there is maybe I would say not as many participants, but still a lot, and maybe slightly less locations.
There was half the amount of Scumbag.
Yeah, which is still a lot for indie, you know.
Yeah, I think 116 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but I had a look.
I want to hear where the idea for that came from.
For which one? For Mr. Sister?
Yeah.
So I told you I was inspired by the song Space Ace by Brett Smiley, and I wanted to see it out there. So that was part of it. But when I worked at Patricia Field, I was the one straight guy working with drag queens and transsexuals. And I would walk balls like they do in the movie Pose, Vogue balls and stuff, as the straight guy from the store. Like, that would be like my category and stuff. So I was around this family that's all covered in the little house that could. And they would always, a lot of my coworkers would go on and do drag shows. And it's funny because I would ask the kids that worked there, I'd say, hey, you want to come to my show? I'm doing a show. And they'd say, what, you're a drag show? I said, no, I'm doing a concert, a rock concert, come to my rock concert. And they always talked about drag shows so much and their other personalities that they would be when they do. So I would jokingly tell them, oh, you got to come to my drag show. I'm Gingivitis. And they're like, what? I thought, if I'm going to be a drag queen, I thought being a black drag queen named Gingivitis, it'd be like, might as well go all the way, just call me Ginger. But
nice.
so that never happened, but it was always in my ammo that maybe I should make a movie about a straight drag queen called Gingivitis. And then as I was doing the film, the Mr. Sister and the nun outfit came about. I don't know. I just started having dreams and it all started fitting together. And I would have had one character in the movie called Gingivitis, but Shaka Convict was the drag queen who I cast. And I thought, well, they want to barely use their name. And I thought the name was funny. So I'm like, okay, you could just be your name in the movie. Right. But the humor from the movie was basically, if you watch Scumbag, there's a kind of a bully that runs the office named Elmo, who has all these kind of really derogatory, mean insult comeback lines. And I had so much more of those. And those become all the lines that Mr. Sister says as he's doing his stand-up on stage. So Mr. Sister is actually pretty much Elmo from Scumbag saying the stuff that wasn't in Scumbag when he's on stage. And so I had a lot of material there. And, the rest just happened the way it did, the storyline between the girl.
That was actually a very cool element, that the job that he gets is basically to stand up in a bar and insult people. Yeah. And they love it.
It was, I got to tell you, the film festival circuit was so weird for this film. I think people, the LGBTQ world started changing so much and being, I hate to say it, walking on eggshells. And all the old queens and the scene don't understand that, so much, because they were saying the derogatory words to each other forever, as I worked with them. It was like not an issue, everybody had a bit of a sense of humor, but today it's it's a very strict thing, so I think a lot of festivals were afraid to play it, it was a weird, but everybody liked it. So when we eventually played, and I remember submitting to film festivals for about a year, we finally get picked up by Dances with Films in 2021, and it becomes the closing night film. You think being a closing night film would get you in other film festivals? Well, we played as the closing night film for Winter Film Awards, and the person that runs that festival, Stephanie Finn, she liked the vibe of our crew and cast so much. She came in and was almost like a right-hand man on right-hand person, other than my wife on Mr. Sister, helping me. She was a crew member after that. So we won Best New York City Film. And then recently we're the closing film for the Lower East Side Festival of the Arts that's been around for 27 years. Other than that, it didn't play any other film festivals. Maybe I aimed too big or something, but this is the first film I've done where we didn't have an international premiere. We played in Canada, but it's a Canadian American film because I'm Canadian American citizen. Right. So as of this week, I just decided, okay, the world has to see it. So we opened it up where Mr. Sister is available on Vimeo on demand all over the world now. And it just got picked up today by Amazon Prime for the world. So it will be there available soon. It got picked up by a platform called Typhoon On Demand, which is you pay your $5 a month and you can see all the films you want. And it got picked up by another platform that's like Tubi called Popsy on Plex. So all of this, it's going to be on those soon. But if you go to Vimeo on demand, I have a 2.5 hour movie that I made of all the behind the scenes stuff, hiding nothing, you'll see crying, during this whole thing. It was hard to do because when I shoot films, I think that film was shot over 11 days straight, and Stars, my latest film, was shot over 9 days straight, and we fly to New York and we make these movies, then we fly back to LA or whatever. Scumbag is available internationally, but it looks like it's going to be picked up by some of these same platforms around the world outside of America. In America, it's on everything except Netflix and stuff, of course, but you can see it on Tubi and Amazon and all that. But yeah, we're going to be doing a big push for the international for Scumbag soon, because it's going to start hitting all the platforms, and Mr. Sister is hitting all the platforms like as we speak. Probably within the next 12 weeks, you'll be able to find it on Amazon Prime in Australia. Yeah. So
that's all of that is awesome, man. I mean, that's crazy that it's getting out there, man, and people need to see it. It's hella fun. But my question is, where did Jack come from?
So I'm weird when I want
acting.
So almost all of my films, a lot of my main stars, I just go up to and I'm like, I want you to be in my film. I don't ask them if they can act or anything. I know in my head that's the person that's for my film. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, I like to have musicians in my film. And I started looking in newspapers and Time Out and Pagers and thinking, well, what's the cool new band? Because, like, before they fully make it is a good time to get them, because, right. Musicians are pretty good actors a lot of times, and I found him. He was in a band called Uni. I think they might have changed their name, with Sean Lennon's girlfriend is in the band with him. Anyways, when I got him, I had another actor who I won't say, who, was from a famous family, son of somebody famous, like, let's say on the Bruce Springsteen level of fame, and this person rehearsed with me and worked on this for about 6 months, and little less than a week before shoot, their manager tells me they're not going to do it now. Some bogus thing, won't give me anything. Tells me they're going to give me a restraining order if I call him. I'm like, what? So I think it was it was basically it was a little bit of a setup where they didn't want to sign a release form so they could bill me for whatever they want later, and I caught them in that act, and I wasn't going to play that. So then I went to Jack, who had a small part in the film, and I said, hey, I think you should be the main part. I think you can do it. Can you send me back some lines? Can I see how you do it? Okay, great. Can you go and I want you to do a cover of this song tomorrow, and I need you to be the wardrobe person. I need you to go and pick out all the outfits, and I'll mail you some money. Go to the Goodwills and stuff. I'll send you through PayPal. And like within 3 days, they had to record a song and show up the set where they were like learning the lines on set, and he did a perfect job, he did. As far as acting wise, and I chose the right person, but it just fell into place. I'd never met him till I showed up on set, and I remember going, wow, you're a lot taller than I thought. Yeah. But he did such a good job, and that was a lot taller in real life. Well, I want to say he's like Will Chamberlain size, he's like Will Chamberlain height.
Not quite.
He was close. He was close.
He's not 7 foot.
He's close. He's way over 6 feet. I think he's maybe 6 foot 4 or something. Yeah.
Well, and the thing about him is where they're walking through the park with him and Deborah and her daughter. I'm sitting there looking, and it was like,
yeah. Well, I think he had platform shoes on too, maybe. But something like that.
That's right.
But now, how tall is Deborah?
I think she's like 5'2".
Yeah. Wow.
It's funny as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about the show I made years ago and now about to become a film. And I had two actors. One of them was about 6'4", and the other one was about maybe 5'6". And I always had trouble, framing them. You're trying to get the frame right. And I'm thinking about your movie. I'm like, oh boy, you had more of a difference.
The boxes and all that, but I never really want to get into that. Maybe when I'm working with like A-list film people and they have to be a certain height, then I'll have to deal. Oh man, I got to bring boxes again. How do you do boxes when people are walking? Or is that like CG stuff? I don't know, but like, it'd be interesting.
And you just mentioned Bruce Springsteen, and the show that I made is called The Bruised Springsteens.
Okay.
And I thought that was hilarious that you mentioned it. But yeah. But the thing about Jack, he just in Mr. Sister, he sort of exudes charisma and sex appeal. It's just like I was watching him. I'm like, wow, I'm a straight guy. He's really pretty. You know what I
that's
mean?
what a lot of people say. He made a lot of people gay. You know, be careful.
Yeah, and he's no chance there.
Yeah,
not yet. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
But he's just very entertaining and very I thought that the what's the word I'm looking for? The chemistry between him and Deborah on camera was really great as well. So there's a lot of things that really worked in that.
Very much.
Thank you. I felt so too. And it was one of these things where like, I still can't look at him without thinking that he is Mr. Sister. Like he became Mr. Sister. And I know him as Mr. Sister more than I know him as anything else he would be doing at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just from before I saw the film, and you had that early promo sort of poster where he's in that sort of non-latex kind of outfit. I was like, wow, that's a cool look, you know? And then I saw the film and I'm like, wow, it's even cooler. So yeah, he is Mr. Sister. There's no question. If you had anyone else in that role, it just wouldn't have worked as well. So well done.
So you know, with that, he's where I lucked out was he wasn't just a musician. He was a musician from Austin, but he had a degree from one of the most prestigious theater schools in England called Liverpool Theater, some academy that Paul McCartney runs, you know, so he knew all those people. Like, it was weird. So he had a background already doing it, but he got thrown into New York where he's like working in bars and playing in bands and not really, I think he did one small part in another movie before that, but it was years. You know, in New York, a lot of times the people don't work in film that much. You know, it's you don't meet many. Put it this way: when I lived there, it was too stressful to think I could go and make a film between keeping the day job and never sleeping and stuff. Like, I went from 4 hours of sleep out there for 10 years to like I sleep, I don't know, 13 hours in LA sometimes. You know, a couple naps today. You know, but yeah, so. Yeah. Oh, and with that nun outfit that you were talking about. So leading up to the event, I had a stylist. You know, we're friends today, but we weren't for a short time because I don't know what the deal was, but I think they stole everything for drug money and disappeared on me right before. And I had a beautiful $600 rubber nun outfit. And that's where Deborah stepped in and said, okay, we're going to go and order the $15 or $20 one and express it to New York because we need an outfit. And then he just squeezed into it. I think it was a couple sizes too small for him, but he made it work. And that's how we did it. And like behind him, we had to clip it together because it didn't even zip all the way and stuff. But we had we didn't have time to even go and get another outfit. So that was how everything happened. And it looks like a pretty good outfit, like on all the pictures.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
I had bought a $600 rubber outfit I couldn't get my money back on right before.
It looks extremely cool.
Yeah.
You guys did really well.
and because the makeup on his face, I mean, the lack thereof, and just enough to make it look like there's horns going up through here. It was just and because his eyes, he has those eyes that bulge a little bit more than normal. That just added to that character big time, and just kind of, because when he would like open his eyes really wide, I'd be like, oh shit.
and it's funny because if you see the some of the poster designs once, you would recognize them anyway. Like, I could see them behind Todd there, and they are very small on the screen, so fairly further away, but I know exactly what I'm looking at, so it's like I straight away I see that just a little bit of it, and I already know what it looks like. I remember the poster because it's just so memorable.
So the makeup was actually inspired. When I DJ'd in New York, I was a club kid, but I didn't know what a club kid was because I did the goth scene in Toronto, got into the electronic scene in New York, techno and playing like, ravey type music and eventually electroclash. But my outfit was, I wore a furry hat with the ears long before people did that stuff, and I had a black shirt with rubber spikes, and I used to paint my face like glitter makeup, like in a kabuki style. And I would DJ all the time as this DJ Mars character. And that was my uniform, and that's what I did all the time. I called myself a graver, a gothic raver. And then somehow I got in with Kyoki and the whole like club kid thing, because all the people at that store worked like in the nightclubs in the fun scene. So I'd lead the S&M scenes and I'd go and hang out in the Suzanne Barsh nightclubs with all these drag queens and stuff. So it was easy for me to tell them like, do the makeup like that, because that's like Hannah Carlton did the makeup, and I just kind of said like, do it like Kabuki style, you know, and that's kind of what I did. And yeah, and it's funny, when I was doing that look, I had all these S&M people, you know. I did dark music, so that's how I got DJing S&M parties. It wasn't like I was like some master of kink or something like that. Right? I met people that were, you know, I met people that weren't vampires and the whole thing. But what ended up happening was I'd have these S&M people go, "Wow, you're a furry," and I'm like, "A furry? What's that?" And they go, "Oh, there are people that dress like you and they live in the woods together and stuff." And I said, "Yeah, I guess I'm the original furry or something." Yeah, like it was just weird to me. I'm like, I'm not that, you know. But if you want to say I'm that, I could be that. That makes you come to my party, you know. Like that was kind of funny. But I was like, wow, I didn't know I'm like becoming this part of this world, you know, of furry people.
To me, furries has that sort of sexual fetish connotation. The people who dress up as furry animals and have sex in costumes.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's you.
Yeah, no, but they thought I was that, you know. So it got a little hard too, because I remember like trying to switch up my look, and some artist did portraits, like he did this Japanese photographer, whose name I can't remember, was just taking pictures of people in Brooklyn, and the idea was we would take these pictures for his art show, but we had to wear these anteater tusks that were really big. So and part of the payment was you get a free anteater tusk. So I remember going, I'm going to switch this anteater tusk thing. And I got to DJ at the Limelight for Black and Blue Ball. And I had this big thing attached to my head. And it was so painful. And it kept hitting myself in the eyes. And I tried to get my records and it hit me in the nose and shit. And I was like giving myself black eyes and all this, because there was a stupid thing I was trying to be. I was trying to be more like an insect look. So I was like, I got to go back to the animal, again, the other animal.
Let's talk about stars a bit more. Coming from Scumbag and even Mr. Sister, that have a kind of a comedic sort of fast pace. I saw the trailer for Stars. There's something about it that looks a lot more sort of drama and even a little bit experimental, I want to say.
More serious. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot more serious. And basically the playwright Doron sent me a ton of books one day. He heard I was a filmmaker now, and books on plays and stuff. And I read through everything. And that one play I thought was really good, you know, and I thought I could do this and it would be like different for me, but something I liked. And it could be done very cheaply, you know, because of how it was written. And right at that time, I was at Dances with Films with Mr. Sister, and they sent us an email, Dances with Films, saying, hey, there's this contest by We Make Movies, this organization, where you can win 25 grand to go and make a movie. You know, you guys should all enter. Here's a waiver code where you don't have to pay to enter the contest. So I was like, all right, well, that sounds like this contest has been around for a year and there's only a week left. I said, well, maybe I should do it. Like, I'm at the point, if there's an opportunity, why not try? And I can say, at least I tried. I've tried a million grants before and I always got turned down, but I got a little bit faster at writing it. What ended up happening was I didn't want to go and tell a bunch of strangers my great ideas for all my next projects and get ripped off, especially being like, especially after dealing with a lawyer to try to sue a film that I know ripped me off, and them saying it's actually works in the favor of the people ripping you off. It's actually hard to win these cases. You know, it's really hard. So I'm like, and you can't copyright ideas. So I'm like, I did not want to go and tell them all my, you know, here's the from A to B. But this one guy that sent me the play said, give it to anybody, do whatever you want, make how much money you want. I don't really care. Just put it out there. Let anybody do it, you know? And I went back to him and I said, you know, I like your film. I'm not going to I make films that I write if I'm going to fund something, that's just how I am. I want to do my own because it takes a lot of money, So I said, would you want me to pitch your play and turn it into a script and like do this? And he said, yeah. So then I was like, all right, well, then I'm going to enter this contest. And then, I went up against, I don't know, 150 people. And I was one of the 3 finalists. And I think I'm one of the only 2 that are actually making the films. And, I was able to do this film. And I was kind of getting pigeonholed. And I'm glad it got me open because my go-to is like comedies, but I don't want to just do that. I want to be able to, like I did an LGBT film, documentary that was serious, and then I did 2 comedies afterwards. So I was like, this is like, I want to show people that I can direct good too, because sometimes people, they take the comedy and they're like, oh, he must not be a good director because it's just like does all this like slap. It gets thrown in with all the slapstick, goofy stuff. There's B movies that are comedies, and it's like, I don't think of myself. I don't make B movies, so let me show you how serious I can do a serious film as well. And I'll film with an all-women cast, which was opposite of like the gay film that I just did, and it was like. And I wanted to do a film in black and white too. I've never done a black and white film. And, my DP was all about Roma and wanting to do something like that. And so the look. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. This is a perfect film for black and white because it's a serious thing. Women are cold and it's like homeless and heartless. And it's going to help add the effect of the movie that I want. So, I didn't want to butcher the person's script. I wanted to keep it pretty true to form. There's lots of monologues, it's like a play. But at the same time, when I did get a little opportunity to add something where I saw, okay, this isn't fully written out. Somebody sings a song in the movie. Of course, I make it funny, and I make it a funny, I put some of the smaller parts. I added a couple small parts that were a little bit funny, but it's not a comedy film. It's a serious
comic relief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a serious film, and I just I wanted to see as a testing water too. Like I've done the festival circuit with funny films. I was kind of curious if the serious film's going to get in the other festivals that don't pick up my funny films, because I know Europe's really weird about comedy because it's different. They have a different comedy in every country, and they don't fully.
The sense of humor is different in all of these countries, and so I get it. Yeah, it's rough to.
Yeah, I didn't know like the F word is considered like worse than like rape in Chinese cinema. Like they cannot handle the F word. It's like, wow, okay, so much for the Richard Pryor Festival.
The thing is, as you bring that up with Europe, I'm thinking, your comedies would be perfect for like a French audience.
I would think so too. My background is French, and I don't just say French Canadian, but it goes back to Normandy, and my idol is Napoleon, and my symbol is Napoleon's army, the Grand Army and stuff. So I thought, yeah, France should like me, but they kind of like me, but I don't get picked for things out there. So it's been weird, and Italy, I don't think fully understands my comedies, but Germany likes me, and Germany's very like New York, and Sweden likes me. They're like New York. They have that same harder comedy, F this attitude, and and England to an extent, like I think England's kind of divided where it's like very proper, don't do anything wrong. And then there's like the people that watch soccer all the time and swear and get in bar fights that like what I do. So it's like, I don't know. We actually, Scumbag has a rating of 18 in England, which was expensive. I had to pay like $2,000 to get that rating, so that I could play movie theaters. And I was with the Cinema by Demand platform called R Screen. And I think after the pandemic, I think that whole Cinema by Demand ended, which is, your audience like gather, pick a cinema, they want to see it, they get 10 of their friends, the next thing it plays there. So we played at Piccadilly View, and it was a cool screening, and I made, I don't know what, $80 for that screening, and then it never played out there again. I was like all excited about it because it could technically play anywhere, but it's hard to. It's like doing a Kickstarter every time you want people to come to something. But
true.
they're going to give me the DCP back. And, you know, I kept my theater rights. The movie signed for North America, Scumbag, to Byron Allen's company, Freestyle Digital Media. But I kept theater rights, and there's like a couple deleted scenes, and there's a deleted actor who was really famous, who I can't really say because of different things, but I'm not saying when that DCP comes back, I'm not going to make a new DCP with his scene and start going and playing in theaters in LA, because it would be cool for people to see that one person that got cut out, you know, that basically cut themselves out. Yeah.
Now I want to see that version.
Yeah, I'll send you that version as soon as I just gotta. I recut it with that scene, but I have to remix for the 5 to 1 stems for that scene to be in it properly, you know. So
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely hanging out to see stars. Just very curious, you know, to see how different it is to the other stuff. And I really liked you know, all the films before that. And now I want to. And you're talking also about horror comedy that you're working on and other stuff. I'm thinking, wow, that's, you know, you're covering a lot of genres, which I kind of like.
I'm
Todd is the same. Todd is also.
In my head, I know I got to go to this level to do this film and this level to do that film. Like there's some that will cost more than the others, but I'm trying to do it in a way that makes sense, you know. But yeah, Stars was fun because the actors were all amazing. Like it was a small cast, but I never worked so much and so hard on rehearsals that they became the people when we got to set. And, you know, I was graced with like some people like Rod Digga, who, you know, she's one of the queens of rap. She has duets with Lil' Kim. She's on Busta Rhymes' group, Flip Mode Squad. She was in Eminem's Outsiders. She like helped Eminem start his rap career. You know, her last movie that she was in, she had a lead in this movie called 13 Ghosts, which had a budget of $45 million in 2001, playing opposite of Shannon Elizabeth, coming off the fame of like, what was that? Apple.
What was that? Abraham and others. Yeah.
What was the Apple film again? I can't. Apple Pie.
American Pie.
American Pie. Yeah. So right at that point, and this is the first thing that she's done since then, and you know, she doesn't age. She looks pretty much the same, but she and she's back doing a lot of pushing a 20th anniversary of her album, and she sang on the Fugees, so she's touring with them. So you know, and she was a great actress. She really took it serious and really professional person to work with.
That's awesome.
And you know, she did a great job. And I got Spooky from Scumbag to come back, who played Junior, and he plays more of a serious role in this. It shows people that he can play serious roles. And Sophia Lamar, who is she's a trans actress that is in the hit Spain TV show Veneno, which is as big as Sex in the City in Spain. But she particularly takes acting as serious as Brando. She doesn't want to be part of like Pose and stuff. Not to put down that, but she's like, no, I want to be treated as a human being, as a woman actor, you know. And I have to be as good or better than the woman actors. And I don't want people to feel different for me because I'm this. I just want you to see an amazing actor. And she was a method actor that came. She didn't want to rehearse so much because she's into this whole method thing. But when she came, she gave it like she took everybody a step up, you know. Deborah did an amazing job playing a role that she's not used to. I got this girl named Miley Rose that she was the only person I kind of tried out from like the Actors Access to Breakdown Express, going through 1,500 people to see which actor I wanted. She was a replacement for somebody else that I thought was too difficult to work with. So and I learned from my mistakes. Like I learned I'm not going to work with somebody that's difficult before we even start. Somebody that demands more money after they win the audition. And so anyways, Miley Rose came on board. She had just done a movie called Asteroid. I never seen it, but like after she did our film, like she literally just got the lead in some other film. I want to say it's called The Ouija Witch. And she plays opposite Deborah. What's that woman? What's that? I'm asking. Oh man, if you Google her, she's in a movie right now with somebody that's like really famous. What was that girl that Miley's in a film with right now? The one that was in all those 80s films.
Is it Sean Young?
Sean Young. Yeah, so Sean Young. She's playing opposite Sean Young, like almost like a week after shooting our film, you know? So that's cool. And Eva Dorapel, she's always in films that play like Toronto Film Festival and stuff. She's from the Netherlands, and I knew her from running the Lower East Side Festival. She was a fan of my films, and I said, let's work together. I never saw her act. I thought that with her accent and who she was and with her theater background, I had a good role for her. And she came and like really woke us all up. We're like, holy cow, I didn't know she was that good. Like in that trailer that you see for Stars, there's a scene where she's a homeless girl and she's crying on the street and like she's getting her food from the street. Well, this is somebody that's vegan, and she was so into the role, she picked up the chicken that fell on the sidewalk in New York and ate it for the role. I didn't even ask her to do that. I'm like, are you okay? Nice. Like, you're a vegan. You just ate a chicken that was on the street. You know, she's like, no, it was for the role, for the part. I was like, holy cow, I've never seen anybody do that, you know? And when she screamed and flipped out, everybody on the street stopped, because I even thought, wait, is this really happening? Like, there was a time in the movie where there's a fight between somebody. I stopped it because I thought they were really having a fight. I didn't know that they were acting. I called cut because I thought, whoa, are you guys fighting? Like, what happened? You know, bigger girls in a room, after a while, they get pissing each other off. Somebody got in a fight, but they were just acting, you know? So that was the kind of stuff I dealt with in Stars. So I really believe the actors can hopefully win some awards for their talents in it. And
I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
Yeah, Meredith Binder. I'll say the last one of the group of the homeless women. She was a small part in Stars. In Mr. Sister, where she's on the subway and she gets ridiculed by these drag queens. Well, she was supposed to essentially just be an extra, and she didn't know what she was walking into. I met her. We walked on the subway, guerrilla filmmaking, of course, in New York, no warning. And these drag queens just start reading her. They just start insulting her. And she played off of it, went back and forth, and then didn't cry about it after, and didn't get mad at me for like putting her in a film like that, like a setup. And I was like, well, I liked how she worked, so I want to put her in a popular role for this. And she came out to all the festivals. And that's the thing. People want to wonder, if you want to work with me again, you got to show up to the festival screenings. You got to look like you care about the movie and tell people and stuff. Like, that's very important to me. That's almost as more important to me than like you doing a good thing. I've had actors that was, so on things, but they show up to everything and they do this and they take that serious. And to me, like, I'll help the people like that. The ones that are too cool for school to do that, I'm like, their last name should end in Depp or something, because like they're not gonna, I don't see how that helps me, if you don't care to, to do it.
And to me, it's like, we picked you to be in a role in our movie, not saying that we should be bowed down to, but then when it comes time to promote the movie, that's not just my job either.
Like, don't you care about what you do? Don't you
exactly
care?
Well,
and I'm not saying any particular person, but I've had a lot of experiences like that it makes it
me too.
hard for me to care, in the future. It's like, no, I want the person that this is all I'm thinking about. Are you only thinking about being a famous actor? Because that would be great. Come to all these things. I'll introduce you to everybody. There's this filmmaker. You should get out there, start making films, beat me at what I'm doing and do more stuff, so that you bring something to me that I'm just like, every time. Because it's like, I have one actor that I've worked with in that whole time that's like, I think they might have excelled me and I might have a hard time getting them at this point. I can say who that is. Brendan Keel Cook, who played Stewart in Scumbag, the masturbator. He's actually doing pretty well on TV and movies and stuff. So, and like, I don't blame people. Sometimes they're naive where they think, okay, the filmmaker has the money to fly all these people to like Switzerland or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't, I don't, and it's not like I don't want you there. But, we have done things where we went to Rotterdam with Scumbag. That was cool. And, we got the free hotel. So I put the other actor up in our hotel and we didn't have as much privacy as we wanted. But it's like, that's how I can try to help people. But, I don't know. To me, it's important. It's like, it's a good thing. It also shows like you take your picture with the nice board in the background and you put it on somewhere. And it's like, you're taking your acting job serious and you're hoping to use that to get more acting gigs and stuff, So, yeah.
Publicity is important. Yeah, no question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and some people, there's some actors that are like, okay, that I did that job, I'm moving on to the next job. And then when you're like, okay, movie's done, guys, I need some help, if anything, just talking about it. I mean, but I always laugh with the actors who have time to be on social media 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but can't take 5 minutes to help promote something that we all spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
Doing. And that I just get stupid frustrated with that. I don't know about you guys, but
I do, I do. And it's I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I didn't pay a lot, I'm always working on tight budgets, but I have had friends act like they're Hollywood big shots and pay the going union rates and all this and stuff. And they just paid somebody's rent for half a year, and that person didn't show up to a world premiere that lives down the street. There's nothing more insulting than that. Like, oh my God. Or you flew them from England to be in your film, and they're not even going to come to this premiere. Like, they should care, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is,
I've actually organized a bunch of filmmakers, and we beat these people with masks on. If there's anybody that ever does that to you, you just call this number. I'll give it to you afterwards, and like it teaches people a lesson. And we always say it was just a dream.
The funny thing is, the actors who are busiest are actually the ones who promote the most.
True.
And as I always say to people, there's a reason they're so busy.
Yeah, it's true.
They're great actors, but it's not just that. It's also that they promote and they do everything that, that makes you want to rehire them. And that's what a lot of young actors don't understand today. They say, oh, it's the filmmaker's job to promote the film.
Yeah,
sure it is.
Yeah.
Sure it is. But the filmmaker promotes you with the film, and you should also, help promote the film because it'll help everybody.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and I'm with you, Mars, on the whole thing.
Beating people up.
What's that?
On beating people up.
That.
With masks,
And then, especially, the big mask this year is going to be from the Black Phone. So I'm going to invest in about 10 of those. So if you want one, Mars, I'll get one too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I forgot where I was going with this.
Sorry.
Beating actors up in masks.
Well, it's just frustrating, and when you start thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, you're not doing anything to help me promote this. Why should I give you another part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Remember that last production when you didn't promote at all? Yeah. I'm going with someone else this time.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where it is. Yeah.
Okay, so that's everything you need to know in life, and that's a secret. And never ever miss what I just said in that last 5 seconds there.
Yeah, exactly. So we'd like to. We're at the end here of our talk with Mars, and so we'd first off, Mars, if people want to get in touch with you, what would you? Where can they find you? Where can they find you? What direction would you like us to point people into?
Go on Instagram. Go to Mars Roberge. That's at MarsRoberge, or you can go to my film company World Domination Pictures website, which is worlddomination.pictures, and there's contacts there which will go directly to me. That would probably be the best way.
All right, awesome.
And Mars can also be found on his MyIndie Productions artist page.
Yes. We will put all that stuff in the description of the episode when it airs here. And then if people want to reach us, Mr. Guberman, how do they do that?
I think they just need to shout really, really loud, and we might answer.
Smoke signals.
They can find us on a Facebook page for the Straight Shooters. They can find us on Instagram. They can find us on myindieproductions.com. We are everywhere. And of course, the email, which will be floating all over this video.
Yes.
The email address.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank Mars for coming on and hanging out with us tonight. So Mars, thanks again for your time and hanging out with us. And
it's been fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So we will see you all next time right here on the Straight Shooters. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.